Do you ever feel guilty for putting yourself first, or for taking care of yourself, or for taking the time that you need? In this video, I'm going to be talking about a few different things. Selfishness versus selflessness, why self-love is actually the answer to all of our problems and everyone else's as well, and how to begin to step into the most important relationship you will ever have. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. I'm a divine freedom and clarity coach. Before we get started for today, I just want to let you know I'm doing free breakthrough calls. There is a link pinned in the comment section below. These are awesome 30-minute calls where we go over your vision for your life, what's stopping you, and the things that you can do, the steps you can take to finally step into your power and live the life that you actually want. Now, my whole life has been about the lesson of self-love. Everything. From a very young age, I struggled with how I perceived me. I had a lot of shame. I had a lot of fear. I had a lot of anxiety. I didn't really like who I was in many ways. I didn't like the human. I never had what I wanted as far as I wasn't witty enough. I wasn't smart enough. I wasn't outgoing enough. I wasn't playful enough. Everything was not how I wanted it to be. And I knew it was me. One of my first disappointments was I was about 3.5, 4 years old, and I lined up all these action figures to play with. And I wanted to just be infinitely creative and fun and funny, like Robin Williams. I don't know why, I just had this impulse to be like that. And I lined up all the figures, and I didn't know what to do with them. I felt this void, this lull, this frozenness come over me. And I got deeply depressed, and I went into this state of self-hatred. Because some part of me knew it was all up to me. If I wanted to have fun, if I wanted to have joy, if I wanted creativity, I had to do that. If you're bored, then you're boring. I knew that. And it was one of the things that drove me my entire life to figure out, where did this come from? Where did this void come from? How come I just couldn't be this big, fun, expansive, creative, endless, infinite being that I knew I was? And what I've come to understand is it was trauma, and was also put there on purpose, because our greatest voids become our greatest strengths. They set us on these missions and journeys to learn about ourselves. But I always struggled with hating me. Even as a kid, when I'd play baseball, I loved to play baseball. If I'd strike out or ground out or something wouldn't go right, I would get so down on myself. I'd just go sit in the dugout and sulk and pout and just be like, fuck, because I was so mad that I didn't get a hit every single time. And people noticed this. Coaches would be like, you got to get over it. You got to get out of your head. Just fucking lighten up. I've had so many people point out to me that, I have this bat that I walk around with my whole life. Anything, I didn't do anything right, and I just beat the shit out of myself. Can you relate to this? This is a very common issue. So many of us had this. And I didn't really know what to do with that. I didn't know what my goal was. I got into drugs to self-medicate, and then I went into rehab, and I got connected to spirituality. But one of the things that I would always hear in rehab was being of service to others, all the time. Get out of yourself, take a new guy out to coffee. And these were all great things, but I never once, in rehab anyway, heard them talk about self-love. And I always felt left out. I was like, well, what about me? And then I heard all the time how we were selfish, self-centered, and self-seeking. And I was like, well, why is it selfish and self-centered just to try to take care of myself? Because I knew that was all I was doing with the addiction. When I was doing drugs, I was just trying to make myself feel better. I was trying to give myself love. I just didn't really know that's what I was trying to do, and I didn't know that was a goal. And then I felt guilty about that. And a lot of times what happens is selfishness and self-love get kind of conflated. That's definitely something that's happened with religion. They'll call self-love vanity, or thinking about yourself as vain, and it all depends on how you're doing it. Self-love isn't really selfish. Self-love is love. And then there's this sort of seesaw battle between selfishness and selflessness, and that needs to be discussed too. And a lot of people will say selfishness is just thinking about yourself and selflessness is thinking about others, but it's not that simple. It's way more complicated than that. See, selfish to me is when somebody's only thinking about themselves, but they're only thinking about themselves from the point of view of their ego. So it's the limited, finite self, the wounded self. It's not that you're thinking about yourself, it's how you're thinking about yourself. And you're thinking about yourself from the point of view of separation. God Consciousness, infinite love, is also always only thinking about itself. Okay? The difference is what the concept of the self is. See, when you expand your awareness enough, you begin to realize that we're all connected and we're all one. So when God's only thinking about itself, or whatever you want to call it, it's thinking about everyone, which is itself. Self versus other. That's all part of separation. Selflessness, being there for other people at the expense of you, is still separation. Selfishness, only thinking about the little self, that's separation. And the reason people get very selfish generally is because there's a wounding within them. And like, so say take like Scrooge as an example. When somebody's just like, mine, 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 this is mine, they become very selfish and very harsh. But that mine comes from an inability to give themselves love. And that is what they really want. And if they knew that, and they had some coaching and some guidance in doing that, they would be able to heal. And as they healed that, they would be there for others more. So what steps can you take to develop your relationship with yourself? The first step is to know that that's even the goal. That's even the goal. Everything comes down to your relationship with you. Everything is a reflection of your relationship to you. Your relationship with others, there's a reflection of your relationship to you. It's important to focus on others, but you want to know that your internal like bullseye point is how that reflects back your relationship to you. If you're angry at others, you're angry at yourself. If you can't forgive others, you can't forgive yourself. If you hate yourself, you're going to have a lot of hatred for other people. If you're critical of yourself, you're going to be very critical of others. If you're critical of others, it's because you're critical of yourself. It always comes back to that's just a universal law. It just is the way that it is. So the first thing to know is that's the focus. What's another thing that you can do? Make it an absolute priority to treat yourself better in whatever way you can. It might just be taking yourself out to dinner. It might be just sitting down and writing. It might just be meditation. A lot of it just has to do with our perception of us. One of the most prevalent diseases in humanity is self-hatred. I would actually say it is the most prevalent disease. We're all kind of wired to hate ourselves. Everybody is. Everybody is. Every day, all the programming, all the media, almost all the movies, almost everything is preying on and exacerbating that deep-seated wound in the collective psyche of self-hatred. Now, where does that come from? It comes from a lot of different places, but ultimately it comes from separation. It comes from believing there's a difference between self and other. And selfishness versus selflessness on some level is still that separation. Being of service to others and never focusing on you is fucking separation. Now, focusing only on you, only on the little self, and never having any consideration for others is also separation. Generally, if you're of service to others all the time and you're not thinking about yourself ever, you're probably a little bit better of a person than if you're completely stuck in ego and you're like, mine, it's my money. Everything comes down to us giving it to ourselves. So do whatever you can to cultivate that relationship with you. What's another thing that you can do to really cultivate self-love in your relationship with yourself? Find things that you love. Find anything that you love and prioritize it, an external activity. If you like working out, work out more. If you like doing nothing, do nothing more. Because you're stating to yourself that you're worthy and deserving of this being a priority. If you like, everything in moderation, right? Like if you have an addiction to video games, maybe don't play video games. But if you like to play video games and you can do it in moderation and you do it from the state and an intention of self-love, it becomes something different. It's about making it sacred. It's about making anything that you do for yourself sacred and bringing it into that intentional space first. And then, because everything's just a reflection of your energy and your perception, it becomes that. This is how I've healed. For 15 years, I'm coming, I guess there was Pluto and Capricorn and it was this major transformation or whatever. For the last 15 years, this has been my whole journey. Nothing I've wanted has happened until recently, a little bit. Nothing. Everything that I started, every goal and dream I had crumbled before my very eyes. I was met with nothing but disappointment in every area: career, finance, passion, relationships, with everything. And it's been a gift in some way, because what it all was meant for, because this was the lesson I needed in a very strict way, was bringing me back to loving myself for no other reason than just because that is true freedom. There is no greater freedom than that. Whatever happens to me, it's going to be okay. Whatever happens to me, it's for me. Whatever happens to me, I can always go back within myself, adjust my relationship with myself, and heal myself through giving myself love. That is how you beat the game of life, and that is also how you get all the things that you want. And then when you get them, you enjoy them and you appreciate them more. And also, if you lose them, it's still okay, because you've set that internal compass, with that foundational space, and made the absolute priority what it needs to be, so that no matter what falls away later, no matter what comes and goes, no matter what transients you experience, because that's life. You may have pain, you may be disappointed, but you will be okay, because you know where your focus is. There is nothing more powerful than that. To be dependent on nothing but your own inner freedom. So let me know what you think of this. Let me know the challenges you have around this dynamic with yourself. Let me know if you have any questions, revelations, breakthroughs. I have a free energy clearing in the description below you can download to help you clear some of your patterns and traumas. Thank you so much. Please like and subscribe to the channel. I look very forward to next time, and peace.